Welcome to episode 144 of Build Your House Yourself University by BYHYU. I'm your host and fellow student, Michelle Nelson, and together we'll learn the basics of home design and construction and demystify the building process so we can build stylish, quality dream homes with or without a general contractor. Hardware refers to all the metal knobs, levers, latches, pulls, hinges, and handles in a house. When building your new home, you'll need to decide what style and color hardware to choose for cabinets, windows, drawers, and doors. So in this week's brief episode, we'll go over what's trending in hardware and metal finishes. The reason this will be a pretty brief episode is because in 2019, almost anything goes, from silver metals like stainless steel, nickel, and chrome, to warm metals like matte brass, gold, copper, and bronze. Non-metallic knobs and pulls in clear glass and clear acrylic are also trending. The main finishes that you should probably be cautious of choosing are the shiny gold and glossy brass finishes that were so popular in the 1980s. They haven't come back around and they look pretty dated. But matte, antiqued, or brushed gold or bronze hardware, that's still popular, although maybe not as omnipresent as it was a couple of years ago. You'll also find many hardware options in darker finishes like oil-rubbed bronze and black, especially matte black. There are no hard and fast rules. Choose hardware finishes that appeal to you and that complement the style of your house and your cabinetry. If you're like me and love hardware and want your pulls and knobs to make a statement instead of blend into the background, you'll want to choose hardware that contrasts with your cabinets, drawers, and doors. So consider using darker finishes like black or oil-rubbed bronze on white or light-colored cabinets and doors. If you don't think of your hardware as decorative and just want your pulls and knobs to blend into the background, you can choose hardware that blends in instead of standing out. Choose dark hardware for darker cabinets, or silver or clear hardware for white or light cabinets. Alternatively, you can forego cabinet pulls and knobs altogether, which will give you a much more contemporary look. Use the same guidelines for your interior doors. If you like the idea of statement doorknobs and hinges, go for lots of contrast. Dark doorknobs and hinges on light doors, for example. As an aside, interior door levers, which you simply push down, are easier to use and operate, especially for aging hands, as compared to door knobs, which you have to twist. You can also choose smaller scale pulls and lots of small knobs if you want your hardware to blend in. To be clear, pulls are the longer linear handles and knobs are the smaller, rounder handles found on cabinets or drawers. To make an even bolder statement, choose larger scale or even oversized hardware. The advantage of larger handles is that they're easier to grab, especially as we get older. And because larger pulls are easier to grab, they can help keep fingerprints and smudges off the faces of your cabinets and drawers, which makes them easier to clean. Just like with hardware finishes, personal preference is the most important factor in choosing the sizes of your pulls and knobs. But let's start by talking about standard sizes to give you a reference point. For oversized cabinetry, you'll obviously want oversized or larger hardware. Oversized cabinets and drawers are defined as over 3 feet wide. Cookware drawers and built-in appliance cabinetry are usually oversized. For those large drawers and cabinet doors, consider large pulls, which typically come in widths of 6, 8, 10, or 12 inches. Some contemporary pulls are even larger than 12 inches. That measurement is taken from the center of one screw hole to the center of the second screw hole. Oversized knobs are 1.5 inches or larger. So that's for oversized cabinets. Most of your cabinet pulls and knobs, though, will go on standard-sized cabinetry, which will be 3 feet wide or less. The most common pull sizes for standard cabinetry are 3, or 4 inches, or 96 millimeters, or 128 millimeters. Again, that's measured from the center of one screw hole to the center of the other. Many of today's pulls, though, tend to be even larger than 4 inches. Standard knob sizes are less than 1.5 inches in diameter. One rule of thumb that I read says to use pulls that are about 1/3 of the width of the drawer or cabinet. But remember, it's okay to go larger or smaller depending on your personal preference. Although both knobs and pulls can be used on cabinets and drawers, knobs, as a general rule, look a bit more traditional than pulls. Today, it's not uncommon to see transitional or contemporary kitchens and bathrooms with no knobs at all, and only pulls. Simple, clean-lined pulls are especially popular in today's new homes. Now, let's talk about quality and price. Interior doorknobs and levers can range from less than $20 to $200 each. You can find cabinet knobs and pulls from less than $2 each to more than $20 each. Solid knobs and pulls are better quality than hollow hardware. Although you generally get what you pay for with hardware, if your budget's tighter, you might want to choose less expensive cabinet hardware, since it's relatively easy for homeowners to trade out for better quality hardware in the future. All right, let's go over the most popular metal finishes: nickel, chrome, and stainless steel. What's the difference? Well, they're all silver metals, but nickel is warmer, meaning although it's silver, it has a tiny hint of gold in it. Chrome and stainless steel are cooler in color, with more gray or white undertones. Both nickel and chrome come in shiny, polished versions, or matte, brushed, or satin versions. But when most people think of nickel, they think of brushed nickel. And when most people think of chrome, they picture polished, shiny chrome with a mirror-like finish. Nickel and chrome have about the same level of durability, but chrome is sometimes a bit more expensive. Brushed and matte finishes hide fingerprints and watermarks better than shiny finishes. You'll generally find a lot more hardware options in brushed nickel than in chrome or stainless steel. Poor quality nickel and chrome finishes can peel and flake over time. Stainless steel, which is usually matte, is the most durable of the silver finishes, and as such, it's the most expensive. True stainless steel hardware is typically made of a full thickness metal alloy, and it's not just plated on the surface like nickel and chrome are. Be careful when ordering from different manufacturers. The nickel from one brand may be warmer or cooler than the nickel from another brand. That means that the hardware from different manufacturers may take on a different appearance from one another, even if they're both called brushed nickel. Chrome and stainless steel can vary a bit too, but usually not as much and not as often as nickel. To be safe, get samples from different brands and compare the colors. Or get all the hardware that you need for a single room from one manufacturer. It's okay if the nickel in one room doesn't exactly match the nickel in another room. It only feels mismatched if the knobs and pulls are next to each other in the same room. Finally, let's talk about mixing metals. Is it still okay? Yes, it absolutely is. Some very traditional designers and homeowners think that all the metals in a room should be the same. They think the cabinet hardware should match the lighting fixtures and the faucets and the doorknobs and door hinges. They think all of those metals should be exactly the same. And if that appeals to you, that's great. But most people today feel that mixing metals is not only okay, but in some cases, preferable to add interesting contrast. It's also okay to mix shiny and matte finishes. If you like the idea of mixing metals, just make sure that the mix looks intentional instead of haphazard. To make your design of mixed metals look intentional, choose 2 to 3 metal finishes and use those finishes in at least 2 to 3 areas within a space. That way, each metal finish has a coordinating partner in the same space. If you want to use warm metals like matte brass or gold or copper in your house, but you're hesitant because you're afraid that it might go out of style in the next few years, adding warm metal cabinet hardware is a great way to go. If brass, gold, or copper do go out of style in the next few years, most cabinet hardware is pretty simple to replace all by yourself. If, however, you decide on warm metal faucets, door hinges, or lighting fixtures, many of us would have to hire a professional or handyman to replace those items. But cabinet hardware, that can easily be switched out by almost anyone. Just make sure you use standard-sized hardware. Well, that's all I have for you this week. I'll be doing some traveling over the holidays, so I may not put out regular weekly episodes. To make sure you get new episodes as soon as they come out, though, you can subscribe to the show. Just search BYHYU, that's BYHYU, or search my name, Michelle Nelson, then select the show and hit the subscribe button. Thank you for joining me this week. Enjoy your holidays and join me for the next episode of Build Your House Yourself University. BYHYU. Please remember that the purpose of this podcast is simply to educate and inform. It's not a substitute for professional advice. The information that you hear is based only on the opinions, research, and experiences of my guests and myself. That information might be incomplete, it's subject to change, and it may not apply to your project. In addition, building codes and requirements vary from region to region, so always consult a professional about specific recommendations for your home.